Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Wednesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. Injury updates for the Lakers. Some good, some not good. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your very first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on weekends, no matter how or where you get your podcast. This one's always going to be free for you. And you can tell all your friends about it, so that it's never going to be behind a paywall. Somebody told me it was arrogant. They left it on the comments page that it was arrogant for us to tell people this, that our podcast is in fact free. I think it's smart. But anyway,
no, it would be arrogant to charge you a bleep ton of money. Like that would actually be arrogant. I would argue there's nothing less arrogant than saying, "Hey, take it for free.
Just come and get it, enjoy it, and then go on with your life." This is our gift to you.
Seriously, I think it's arrogant to run around leaving comments without knowing what arrogant means.
Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 26,000 subscribers. All of whom, Andy, are excited about at least some of the injury news the Lakers received on Tuesday as they get ready for tonight's game against the Grizzlies. The most important of these in terms of, well, it's the most important. Anthony Davis can see. He's going to play. His eye is apparently okay, and he is not going to wear goggles, but he is going to play against Memphis. And if I have to choose one of those things, play, okay, but but still put on some goggles.
As the memes tell us all the time, why not both? Yeah. I mean, it's funny. When AD had to leave the game on Sunday because he got poked in the eye, I had tweeted out at Cam Brothers, I'm going to go to change.org and start a petition from all concerned Lakers citizens demanding that Anthony Davis wear goggles. And
Yep.
I said this half serious, half kidding, the kidding part mostly being, I don't know if I'm actually going to put in the work to create a petition. But then after seeing this news, I'm like, I'm really going to have to write this effing petition, aren't I? I'm going to actually have to do this.
Well, the man just doesn't want to wear goggles, Andy, and we're all now just going to have to hold our breath and wait for the next time he gets poked in the face, which seems to happen to Anthony Davis. I don't know, a couple times a week now. I mean,
I hope at this point that that when he eventually has to wear goggles because the doctors say no, this is the only way we're going to clear you, he gets stuck wearing the dumbest looking goggles possible, because he had an opportunity to go find some cool ones, make a fashion statement, get a fat endorsement from Louis Vuitton or whoever he ends up getting their goggles. I hope he ends up with the nerdiest tape across the middle of the bridge. That I hope AD looks
like
really
Kurt
stupid.
Rambis goggles, except not glasses, just goggles, right?
Dumber. Dumber. They turned Kurt Rambis into a pre-front office icon. I hope that these turn AD into a still performing at a high elite level laughingstock.
An aesthetic laughingstock.
Yeah.
Well, the good news, though, at least, is he is going to play. Everyone keep your fingers away from Anthony Davis's face. He is going to play, and given the injury problems that the Grizzlies have, no Ja Morant, no Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart still out for them. He
did practice. DeMichael Cole over at Locked On Grizzlies actually tweeted out, because he also covers the team for the Memphis Commercial Appeal. He apparently practiced Wednesday, the degree to which I don't
Desmond
know.
Bane?
No, Marcus Smart.
Yeah. But I think he's still out for this game, but he's been listed as doubtful for the last couple of games, which, to be fair, is an improvement over others. But
I believe the way he phrased it was inching towards a return, and did practice again. It was just a tweet, so there were not a ton of details in there. I'm just letting people know it wouldn't stun me if Marcus Smart was available.
But Bane and Morant are both out. And so this means the Grizzlies, who, as always, play hard and play smart and do all that stuff, are certainly very vulnerable. and the Lakers ought to win this one. By the way, this is not an NBA Cup game, so the title defense actually begins on Friday.
Yes,
but
in San Antonio,
you may see a lot around the league. The Cup has started, but not for the Lakers until Friday. So it's just a regular game. I'm very pleased that Davis is back. And this is a game that the Lakers absolutely need to make sure that they win. The odds of that not happening are significantly lower if Anthony Davis is on the floor. Some bad news, though, for the Lakers on the injury front. Christian Wood, it was reported on Tuesday, will be shut down for a little bit. He is not reacting well to his ramp up. And they're going to ramp him back down. The surgically repaired knee is experiencing a little swelling. They can't get him comfortable and can't get him right. They're not even going to bother looking at the guy for another month. And so effectively Christian Wood is out until mid-December, I think at the very least, and likely until after the first of the year. Still no news on Jarred Vanderbilt, which means
but at least it's not crappy.
Right.
The last time we got an update on one of those two, we didn't like it. So.
As I tweeted out, no news is not always good news, but sometimes news isn't good news either. You and I had a feeling.
You and I had a feeling that with Christian Wood, I mean, with Vando, it's been so freaking vague anyway. Like the whole surgery thing was a surprise. Like there's a certain amount that I think we just have to accept they're not telling us. But with Christian Wood, this was around the timeline where we were supposed to be getting an update. And the fact that it required asking with the update struck both of us as not a great sign.
It's that, and it's a couple things. It's what, and we talked about this, I believe, on Monday's show or Tuesday's show, is normally there are reports of, and Christian Wood was out on the floor doing side work, and there's no official update, but he's like out there, and the update is he's progressing toward but there's been nothing, and so it is one of those deals where I think you just have to officially say that for the foreseeable future, the team that they have now is the team that they are going to have, and that may be probably until. Was it December 15th when you can start making trades with guys who've had transactions and stuff over the summer? I think really realistically, the earliest that you're going to see any new players on this team, including the guys who are actually on the roster, like new to the lineup, would be following that deadline. By the way, I'm not expecting that to happen anytime either. I will say this. There are a lot of people I've seen expressing frustration and saying that something must be wrong with the Lakers medical staff for this Wood setback. And I would hesitate to start casting blame on the training staff, on his doctors, on his therapists, whatever. We just don't know what's going on. And Wood is coming back from multiple surgeries. Vanderbilt is coming back from multiple surgeries. The human body is enormously complex. It is a difficult thing to recover from these things. And remember, these guys they're not recovering to try to go do workouts like you and I might go to the gym and whatever, or, they're trying to get back to playing NBA basketball. And the demands for that are way beyond anything that normal people have to do. And so this is a frustrating part of the process. I don't know if it's anybody's fault necessarily. And I think probably, and you may agree, we can talk about it now or after the break or both, some of it is just, I guess, frustration at the messaging maybe, or the lack of information, or
I don't
also
entirely
too, that these
agree
guys
with you.
just never get back on the floor.
I don't entirely agree with you, to be honest. We can talk about it more afterwards.
Explain why, because I if you think there are things here that the Lakers specifically are doing wrong, and you disagree, then I definitely I could be persuaded, I suppose, but we'll get into that next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. Tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and you get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Again, just $5. Win it. Pick something that feels really super obvious. $150 in bonus bets. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So that means information streamlined right there in front of you. So if you feel like you have a hunch for how the game is going to go, you can anticipate things, confirm those hunches with the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150, again, in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, that's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Quick reminder, LockedOnDaily.com. Go subscribe to the newsletter. You go there, you click on Locked On Lakers, and you can have this show delivered to your inbox along with a bunch of other stuff from around the network and some great NBA analysis. That's every day. It helps you keep up with what's going on with the show and with the NBA. So go subscribe there. So, okay, I am very always hesitant to blame a medical staff or something when stuff like this happens. You seem to at least potentially disagree a little bit about the idea that the Lakers might be doing something wrong here.
Well, I want to make this clear. I'm not framing this as blaming the medical staff because I'm not informed enough to pick any specifics that I would blame them on in the first place. I just want to make that clear. This is not me presenting anything concrete that I know. I'm not nearly medically informed enough to take a look at their approach and say, well, clearly that's wrong. Where I would say, though, that I disagree with you is the idea that I have no lingering doubts about the training staff. I would be lying if I said that I'm not having some doubts about this because they seem to struggle to get guys back on the court in a timely manner. And yes, as you often point out, the human body is not an exact science. Everybody's different, yada, yada, yada. None of what you're saying is wrong. But at the same time, this is not like bloodletting and leeches. Like there is a certain amount of science behind this. These are professionals, and they have a lot of lingering long-term stuff that they seem to struggle to get a handle on, which again is not me blaming them because I am not informed enough to blame them. But if you're asking me if I feel fully confident, I'd be lying if I said yes. Okay.
I'm glad you said that because really I should be more precise with what I'm saying. I think when I say like what I'm discouraging people from is people just drawing a straight line from the training, like Christian Wood got hurt, therefore the Lakers and their training staff are screwing this up yet again. They're doing something wrong. They re-injured Christian Wood. I think that is unfair and we don't know. Where I will say it is fair to have some hesitation, some suspicion, whatever the word is, the lack of faith in the Lakers training staff, which is, I think, what you're saying. I think is reasonable. And I'll tell you why. It's because the Lakers have shown that they don't have a ton of faith in their training staff.
They keep turning them over and over.
They keep flipping it over. So I appreciate you doing that because I was not precise enough in what I was saying. There is a difference to me between the Lakers screwed this up in this individual instance and the Lakers have been at the forefront and have had a confidence building medical and training staff. The answer to the latter is obviously they haven't been. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep replacing these.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the difference.
Thank you. That is right. Your way is a better way of framing it.
Here's the difference between, at least to me, a different type of example, but I think people will understand. The difference between blame and having doubts. If, say, the last couple of seasons has given fans some pause in terms of the Lakers' ability to evaluate young talent, which used to be seen as not just a strength by us, but frankly, across the league. Like their scouting department, drafting and all that was considered among the best in the league. I still think they're pretty good. But if the last couple years has given you some doubts about that, I understand that. But projecting talent from a place that's largely unknown is difficult. All franchises have misses. I cast blame at Rob Pelinka for making the Russell Westbrook trade because the reasons not to do that were incredibly obvious. You did not need to project ahead. There were plenty of knowns. That is something that is wholly avoidable. I don't know enough with the training staff to know what is avoidable, what's not avoidable, what's right, wrong, whatever with their approach. I'm just saying they seem to struggle to get guys back on the court, and it can't all be because they have the most complex bodies in the league.
No, or the injury. I think
this goes back to Kendrick Nunn. This goes back it's been a pattern.
And I think the other question that they have that you have to deal with too, I think in these things is messaging. And I think at this point, they'd probably just be better off being like, look, nobody likes the answer to this question. This player X will be available when player X is available. And like, I don't even, we're going to update Wednesday. Is he not back yet? It's like when my daughter asks me when we're driving, we're driving to school, we're driving whatever. She's just turned 6. Are we there yet? No. If we were there, we'd be there. Like, you would see the place that we are going. You would be in front of school. You would be at your friend's house. We're not there yet because we're still driving. Some version of that is probably just what the Lakers ought to settle on, because they have not figured out a language that sounds right. Like this language of, at least they characterize this as a setback, like parsing with Vanderbilt.
What other choice do they have?
Right. No, but like, you understand what I'm saying? Like parsing it with Vanderbilt. Well, the last update on Vando was like, well, he's not progressing as fast as we would like. Has he had a setback? Well, no. I mean, they said no, but like, what exactly does that mean? A setback physically, a setback based on the timeline, a setback. But the next time the Lakers put a time frame on an injury, even in the Vegas terms, it should be the last. Like they should just not do it anymore, and like not even give us an update on when we're going to hear, when we will be reevaluated and hear. Like I'm not sure what they, or at the very least, just we'll give you an update in 3 weeks. But that's it. Like I just
think they should. Look, you and I have covered this team for a long time. We've been through different incarnations of the media relations department. And I think you would agree with me. This current group is much more opaque than groups we've worked with in the past.
Yes.
It is much more difficult to get just sort of straight information. And I understand that there's a game that goes along with this, and they don't want certain information getting out. And I get it.
And there's, you want to respect the player and their issues.
But at the same time, if you don't want speculation, particularly that's kind of the equivalent of doom scrolling, then you got to give some information. Otherwise, people are going to fill those blanks themselves. And generally,
but you know what is suitable information? And I think this is true of experts in every field. We don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. Jarred Vanderbilt is coming back from complicated foot surgeries. We don't know. We are hopeful that but like all this language of, like we're hopeful that he'd be like, the answer is,
I mean, you're always hopeful.
Right, of course we are. But like they raised the possibility, and we were a little suspicious, no doubt, of the idea that Vanderbilt might be ready for the regular season. And which we took to mean, maybe he'll be ready 5 games in.
Here's the thing, too. All the credibility of the information you're going to pass along gets put in doubt when, by the way, he had surgery and we didn't tell you. Right. like stuff like that. It's like, well, what are we supposed to be believing? Like, double foot surgery. We didn't let anybody know about this.
But I feel like the Lakers would be better served with fewer updates of, we're encouraged, we're hopeful, there's not been a setback, and just every answer is like, we don't know. Jarred Vanderbilt really wants to play. He's got excellent doctors. We're following, every protocol that we can based on the best medical knowledge that we have available to us. We have no idea when he's going to be able to play. We hope it's soon, but our priority is with the health of the player. And people aren't going to like that answer necessarily.
But it feels like you're being BS'd less, and that helps.
It's just, we don't know. And like, How can you not know? You're like, because, and then then it's on the person who's hearing the information to understand what it is that you're dealing. This is a player with, in the case of Vanderbilt, 2 foot surgeries. Like, that is the most fundamental. There have been players whose lives and careers have been completely undone by foot problems, or have had, was it Brooke Lopez, like basically was in and out of lineups for like 2.5 years, 3 years while they figured out foot problems, and they did. And now he's really been kind of an Iron Man since then. But that's where I come from. Like when we were talking about in the first segment, this stuff is really hard and really complex. And I try to make sure that I'm being fair when I criticize the Lakers for doing stupid things or making mistakes or whatever, because if everything is their fault, then sort of nothing is their fault. But that said, how you talk about these things makes a difference. And if you want people to think that you have confidence in your training staff, stop replacing your training staff every year and a half. So. True. Okay, so hopefully we won't have to deal with any more injury updates for new players going forward, because it's a very frustrating process, and it has been a horrible, horrible opening month of the season for injuries around the league. In that sense, knock on wood, the Lakers have been relatively unscathed, at least in terms of new guys getting hurt. So there is that. Couple other things that we wanted to finish up from Tuesday's show. I know we were getting into a lot of details about what is similar and different about this team compared to last year, sitting at 6-4, 10 games into the season. We had some numbers on individual players and some different trends. So we'll get back into that. And then, Andy, you also teased something on Tuesday's show about people waiting around for DAngelo Russell to get traded. We did mention trades earlier in this show, and we will explain what we were talking about next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Mint Mobile. With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. But with Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about the gotchas again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it, as in no hidden fees, no upcharges, no tricks buried in some complicated bill. All the plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk, text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. Bring your own phone number, all the existing contacts to get this new customer offer and get your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month. Go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. $45 upfront payment is required. It's equivalent of $15 a month. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Speeds slower above 40 gigabytes on the unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
One of the guys we didn't get to, Andy, and I do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Start the season off with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. Get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win that first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. One guy we didn't get to was RUIZ, who I think has been quietly all over the map so far this season. Like, he's not been uniformly bad. It's not a Max Christie situation, but the extremes on Rui Hachimura are noticeable.
Well, it's interesting. I hope, I think people will understand what I mean by this. I hope that Rui had been, maybe even is still feeling the last remnants of that illness that he had missed a game for. By the way, too, DAngelo Russell missed Tuesday's practice with what was reported as an illness on the Hoop Collective podcast at ESPN. They mentioned how a lot of players across the league are dealing with a sickness virus type thing. Jovan Buhoff, who friend of the show, covers the Lakers for The Athletic, he has mentioned that he's been fighting something for a while, because these guys just all play each other. They're all in different locker rooms. It's like when you have kids at a school, when one kid gets sick, everyone gets sick, and half the parents. So I am hoping
everyone's got pink eye.
Yeah, for real. And I am hoping that RUIZ November can be explained away, and we'll see it maybe in the last couple weeks of November, as just the effects of the illness, because good Lord, his splits from October versus November, they are stark. In October, averaging, and it's about the same amount of games in each month. October, averaging 16 points and 7 rebounds on 46% from the field, 57% from behind the arc. November, 7.5 points a game, 4.5 rebounds on 27% from the field. Yikes. 39% from behind the arc, which is still good, but it shows it's really dropped off. And this is like, whoa. In the restricted area, Rui was shooting 58.6% in October, 20% in November. And we've talked before about, Rui and often D'Lo as the two X factor players for this team, really D'Lo among the guards, Rui among the forwards. It's clear the Lakers can win with Rui playing like this, but it's also been clear it's a hell of a lot harder. It becomes a different ball of wax when Rui's playing like this.
It's going into the season, we talked a lot about what has to happen given that it is the same team. And I argued on Tuesday's show, it's probably a lesser version of it, at least until Dalton Connect can be as consistent on both sides of the ball as Torian Prince. For example, as much as we like to mock Torian, and Torian was really an avatar for overall frustration with Darvin. He shot the ball well last year.
Torian actually had a good season last year. Most of whatever you want to call problems with Torian had very little to do with Torian.
Correct. He was being right. It's not his fault. He was being played too many minutes. In the equivalent amount of minutes, Torian Prince was better last year than Dalton Connect has been this year.
Yeah.
Are the guys replacing Torian, whether it's Connect and Christie, whatever combination you want to put together, Prince was better than them.
Look, you could argue that Vincent, Christie, or Dalton Connect, all in their own right, could be seen as the replacement for Torian, depending on how you look at it. None of them are living up to it.
So you could combine their output, and they're probably not equaling what
closer than it should be.
I'm not even sure it's closer than it should be. I think it's I think like the kiss, like again, like max plus minus imperfect. Lowest plus minus in the league.
Well, I was going to do some math, but we all learned no.
Nope, don't do that.
Not doing that. No.
Don't do that. And so you can argue that this is actually probably maybe a slightly lesser version than last year's team. But either way, for the Lakers to reach their ceiling, certain things needed to happen. You needed LeBron and AD to stay healthy. Yes. You needed Anthony Davis to play, MVP caliber, which he certainly has. You needed LeBron to, be the LeBron at the very least of last year, which, I think over the last couple games he's shown he's rounding into form. I'm willing to put a check in that box. Austin Reeves needed to elevate. I think that is starting to happen. Like right now, it certainly looks like he's really filling that space. You needed D'Lo to be like he was last year. That hasn't quite worked out the way I think they hoped. And you needed Rui to take kind of a step up. In addition to Christie and Vincent and all those other guys. But like, as you're starting to go down the list of important players, Rui Hachimura building on last season is critical for the Lakers to get where they need to go. And he got off to kind of a promising start. And I think he's had a lot of good moments, but part of that is moving from guy who is pretty good every other game or whatever to guy who is pretty good and pretty reliable 2 out of 3 games. Not a superstar, but just you're going to get in 60% of the games Rui plays, like a really nice output. And we're not quite there yet.
No, again, my hope is that he was really affected by this virus and then it passes and you start seeing a difference.
Yep.
And it also, I suppose, could help to some degree. D'Lo getting moved to the bench declutters a little bit of what might have been too much egalitarian attempt in the offense, or trying to make sure nobody's really left out. Like, I don't mean this as a slight against Cam. You can leave Cam out. Like, he's not there for the offense. He's there for the defense. I think he's actually playing his role well. Short, small sample size, but he's doing a good job. But I think that maybe that opens things up a little bit more from Rui. My biggest hope is just he was sick. He'll stop being sick. It'll be fine.
So the other thing that you kind of teased was this notion that DAngelo Russell, and we mentioned, guys who can be traded on December 15th, that opens it up. Like the rumor mill the other day that we didn't quite get to was, the Lakers are making it known that DAngelo Russell is available. I mean, yeah.
In other news, I've watched the movie Groundhog Day.
Right. We've seen life. They're just putting the same tweet out that they did.
Are you talking about during his first stint with the Lakers or the second stint? Because it applies either time.
Right. So that's a thing. And then, it was reported earlier in the week, I think it was Jake Fisher, that the Lakers have on their board, their interest board, Jonas Valanciunas and Brook Lopez. Again, yeah, I mean, sure.
Valanciunas won't be available, just so people know, until December 15th.
Right. That's when, like I said earlier in the show, like that's probably the next time you're likely to see a real lineup change of somebody who isn't already in, available to them. So I'm excluding the injured guys, is post December 15th. The landscape is not changing. DAngelo Russell is no more or less likely to get traded now than he was 6 months ago. Everybody understands the parameters of these things, and the Lakers are in the same box with D'Lo that they were in going into the season, that they were sort of in over the summer, and all these other things. Like this notion that like D'Lo, this is finally the time that D'Lo's out. It's just not. I don't think it's that simple.
Well, here's where I actually disagree with you. I think he might have proven himself, depending on if this bench role really sustains and works, less expendable than before. Because until they can find somebody who can score off the bench with any type of regularity, and we just learned, at least for another 4 weeks, it ain't going to be Christian Wood. Like, D'Lo was a difficult fit with the starting lineup, particularly if you were looking to give AD, the type of usage that he's had. You're looking to bump Austin Reeves' usage. Like, it was, we brought this up before even JJ Redick started talking about it openly. It was very clear D'Lo was being used differently, and he was having a difficult adjustment to it. Mm-hmm. He now has a role that not only makes perfect sense for him, he's filling a need. So the idea that, at least to me, and look, for all I know, the Lakers are on the phone right now with Milwaukee working out the particulars of a D'Lo Brook Lopez trade for the second time, which in and of itself would be kind of hilarious. But I think until they feel confident that they have somebody who can play off the bench as a legit source of points, because we saw last year in the playoffs, they struggled whenever it came down to guys, off the bench, like other than Torian. Yeah. Nobody on that team could score off the bench. Like this,
we're talking about the same thing, because you used the word like more or less expendable. I never thought he was expendable to begin with. The whole premise of this, of why we have said it's so difficult to trade D'Lo, is you have to replace him with someone better.
Well, no, where I disagreed with you.
I'll explain when we'll go. I don't think that moving to the bench makes him more expendable. I don't think any of these things. The situation is and remains, if you trade D'Lo, you have to trade him for something that really improves you. And doing that, whether he's a starter or whether he comes off the bench, is really difficult. And so that is, I think, I agree with you 100%. Like, he is no less expendable as a bench player than he was as a starter. And the fundamentals of why it's hard to trade him haven't moved. That's what I was getting.
No, I understand what you're saying. Where I disagree is I think he's actually become less expendable.
Maybe.
The reason I bring it up that way, though, is just because there had been a common school of thought that moving DAngelo Russell to the bench was the natural precursor to a clean break from DAngelo Russell, because it's easier to replace a bench guy than it is a starter. I'm saying, beyond the fact that I agree with you that logic doesn't necessarily hold on this particular team, given what they have and don't have, I'm saying I actually think it holds less.
Yeah, maybe. And, you got to find, say, if you find a starter, move somebody else to the bench, maybe. But the point is, you got to replace him with something that's better, regardless of what his role is. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is YouTube is where you can is where you can go hang out with over 26,000 subscribers to the channel. We'll of course be back after tonight's totally normal non-NBA Cup contest, and we'll see everyone tomorrow.